Hello and welcome back to Adam's Fam Anime. I am John and today I'm doing another One Piece video, this time doing a quick discussion on an important figure within the One Piece world known as Joy Boy. Now, within the One Piece canon, Joy Boy has seldom been brought up, but with Wano, and more particular the flashback regarding Kozuki Oden, the frequency of which he's been mentioned is making it very apparent that his importance, especially to the Void Century and the events following the Void Century, are becoming increasingly important. And this is kind of a testament to Ichiro Oda's amazing world building ability, as Joy Boy is a character we hardly know anything about, yet no One Piece fan can deny his overall importance to the eventual conclusion of the One Piece story. Although we don't know a whole lot about Joy Boy, I can go ahead and sum up what we do know. It appears that he was a relevant figure within the events of the Void Century 900 years ago, and according to Kozuki Oden, who returned to Wano with the expectation that Joy Boy's return to Wano would come roughly about 900 years after his last appearance. Now, considering that Oden had been to Laugh-Tale where Joy Boy had left his treasure behind, which is presumably the One Piece, it would stand to reason that the reappearance of Joy Boy would be fated to occur, at the very least around the same time that Poseidon would be reborn in the form of Shirahoshi. So Shirahoshi is the princess of Fishman Island, or for the most part the princess of all of the Fishman people. And Joy Boy, so far in terms of racial groups, we know that he had a strong connection to the Fishman people. In particular, he made a promise to the previous Poseidon to assist them in lifting the Noah to the surface. And since we know that fishmen are entirely capable of reaching the surface on their own, it's kind of implied that the act of raising the Noah to the surface with the fishmen is a symbolic gesture to show that they have rejoined mankind on the surface. And this would naturally imply that Joy Boy's promise or his role with the fishmen were to give them a sense of inclusivity and a sense of freedom in regards to how they interact with human beings. And in more recent mentions, we see that with King and the most recent chapter of One Piece that he was under the impression for at least a moment that Kaido himself could have been Joy Boy reincarnate. And the fact that King, a member of an almost extinct race, would have knowledge of Joy Boy, or at least view him as a legend, kind of gives the implication that these other races in the world of One Piece that aren't human, meaning fishmen, Tantata, giants, and the like, are all under the impression that at one point someone will come and free them from their racial disparity. And another thing worth mentioning is the sun god Nika, who seems to kind of be synonymous with the idea of Joy Boy, at least. The notable difference here being that the sun god Nika is a reference or a legend in regards to prisoners, while Joy Boy kind of seems to be a legend in regards to Roger and his pirates, as well as the fishmen. Now, as far as the sun god goes, we don't know a whole lot, at least not as much as we do about Joy Boy, as we do have some of Joy Boy's actions in life being present through the One Piece story. For example, his interaction with the fishmen, in particular with the previous Poseidon, as well as having enough knowledge, influence, or even possibly a crewmate or a friend of sorts who possesses the ability to write on the poneglyphs. And one would have to naturally assume that Kozuki Oden, having been on a journey with Roger, having been to Laugh-Tale, and possibly have knowledge of the contents of all of the poneglyphs, for him to come to the conclusion that Joy Boy would reappear nearly 900 years into the future, that raises a lot of questions. Heck, I mean, the man is also married to a woman who was born just after the Void Century, so I think it's fair to say that the concept of destiny when it comes to Joy Boy isn't necessarily a guaranteed thing. It could entirely be possible that with the use of some devil fruit or some ability, someone was able to see into the future to know that a savior of sorts or a new Joy Boy would pop up in Wano around 900 years after the Void Century. So I'm going to go ahead and give my thoughts now on what I think or who I think Joy Boy is or what it's meant to represent. Now, obviously, I think we'll get a lot more information on Joy Boy before Wano's end, but I think I can make a fairly close conclusion before we get there. And my assumption is that Joy Boy is going to be the liberator of all humans, all fishmen, all races, from the confines or the control of the world government. Now, I don't necessarily believe that Oda is trying to make an anti-government message here. What I think rather is that he's trying to stress the importance of freedom, and that Joy Boy might be the character to be the perfect vessel for such a message. Now, as I've mentioned in a previous video, the concept of pirates in our modern world always kind of has a negative connotation to them, where we believe them to be criminals who just do what they want and take what they want. However, when it comes to One Piece, it's a little more complicated than that, and it's not so cut and dry. For example, we have pirates like Kaido, who will take from others, who will do messed up things, force people into being his, servants, his crewmates, and essentially disregard the will of other people who he affects and who he interacts with. Yet while Luffy is exactly the same, he's a pirate, he's different in the sense that he's a good-natured person. He doesn't seek to negatively affect the will of other people in any way, shape, or form. He just wants everyone to be free and to do what they want so long as it's not affecting others negatively. And when you look at his track record, according to the negative people or negative influences that he's defeated, usually it's through a request for help from some other third party, but for the most part, all of his villains and all of his rivals throughout the series have all been characters who have negatively affected the free will or the freedom of the people they interact with. So I believe that this is why Luffy is most often connected to the concept of Joy Boy, even though we really have no reason to come to that conclusion. We have a couple tidbits here and there about the Joy Boy working with Poseidon to bring up the Noah, or Luffy destroying Fishman Island, which might consequently force them to go to the surface and reintegrate with human beings. But ultimately, I do think that the title of Joy Boy is an open one, or at the very least it's open for grabs. And this is why I think that King was under the impression that Kaido might have been the reincarnation or the next Joy Boy, since King himself is from a persecuted race and Kaido freed him, as well as making the declaration that Kaido was going to change the world. And it's fair to say that if the world government were defeated and everyone in the world were instantly granted freedom, it would in fact be changing the world. So if I had to sum up my understanding of what Joy Boy means to the world of One Piece, it is a character or a person who is going to fulfill a destiny of freedom. Now, whether or not that destiny has been foreseen through fortune telling or some devil fruit ability, I do think that the world of One Piece is going to be free of systemic control, in particular referring to the world government and their systemic oppression of people and other races. And this would give One Piece a more realistic ending, because if Luffy does fulfill that role and destroys the world government, or at least their influence on the people, then it wouldn't necessarily be the ridiculous shonen ending where every single person who's still alive is perfectly happy with what's going on, since the elimination of systemic control doesn't necessarily equate to a good world. It doesn't eliminate free will, so there'll still be bad people out there who could negatively affect others. However, people won't be born into a system of control. Effectively meaning that Joy Boy is the character who will be bringing the dawn of a new age. And if the sun god Nika is tied to it, then it would also represent the rise of the sun god Nika. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Joy Boy and what the idea of Joy Boy means to the world of One Piece. Let me know in the comment section down below if you have any ideas, thoughts, or predictions on the future role that Joy Boy will play to the races and the people of the One Piece world. Also, feel free to comment down below if there's any ideas or any concepts you want me to address in regards to One Piece. My name is John from AF Anime. Please like, share, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.